There was an update to Elite Dangerous yesterday that brought huge changes and new tools to Squadrons, as well as some new fixes and additions to the game for everyone else. In this video we're going to break down everything that arrived with Vanguards. The ability to form and fly as a squadron first arrived in Elite Dangerous in 2018. Ever since, its availability as a function has been welcomed by a lot of players, but overall as a tool it's been largely free of the features that you'd normally expect from a guild or squadron system in a modern online game, and as a result the squadron feature was overall honestly somewhat underwhelming. The Vanguards update set out to specifically address those functionality and feature issues. We also saw some very welcome and important features and fixes arrive alongside the squadron stuff with Vanguards. The Panther Clipper was suffering from some very serious flickering and visual glitching issues following its launch into the game recently. I'm very pleased to report that those bugs have now been squashed. While we're on the subject of the mighty Panther, the lights on the dashboard that were obscuring the distance to target HUD element that was directly overlaying them have been moved, so they're now no longer a problem, which was good to see. The electricity bill for personal fleet carriers has also been paid again, and as a result the lights in the hangar bays have now been turned on again. There was however a line in the update notes when they arrived yesterday that almost no one was expecting to see, and that line simply read, quote, "improvements to shadows across various locations in game," end quote. The shadows in Elite Dangerous, particularly on planetary surfaces and in asteroid rings, have for the longest time been appalling. They frequently flicked on and off, and the edges of them would jiggle and wobble around, particularly at locations close to the Terminator. Recently there were changes made to the quality of the night vision shader that had led many to dream that perhaps the game's visuals, and dare we dream, those shadows also were being looked at, and as it now transpires those dreams were not wasted energy. The difference in the shadow quality we're now seeing from the testing we've done is fairly startling, and you can see a couple of before and after examples running on screen now. Certainly the glitching and wobbling that we were so very accustomed to seeing day to day appears to have been resolved. Well, that was my wife. One absolutely superb quality of life update also sneaked into the game and, in true Frontier Developments fashion, got no mention in the patch notes whatsoever. I'm very pleased to be able to report that following Vanguards, if you now filter out fleet carriers in the contacts panel in your ship, you will still continue to see not only your own fleet carrier but also your squadron carrier, but absolutely no one else's, eliminating some significant clutter in the panel whilst still maintaining its usability. I can see this being hugely useful in the space surrounding community goal systems in particular. As you'd expect with any large update, it has introduced some bugs. I have to say I'm quite enjoying seeing our entire squadron roster with bright ginger hair in the squadron back end right now. However, if you do stumble across any issues, it's always worth hitting up the issue tracker and adding your voice to any that you find. You'll find that site linked below. That's some of the surprises from the update out of the way, so let's talk about the meat and potatoes of Vanguards itself, the update to the squadron system. First things first, Vanguards is an update to the existing squadron system, not a complete wipe and restart, so any existing squadron membership or ownership that you had is still intact following the update. Also, exactly the same as before Vanguards, there is also no minimum number of commanders needed for squadron formation, so you can absolutely be a squadron of one or a squadron of alts if that's your bag, with no restrictions. Undoubtedly one of the headline features of Vanguards is the arrival of the ability for squadrons to own a capital class carrier vessel of their own and use it as a shared asset. The upkeep costs appear to be in line with regular fleet carrier costs, but to purchase the vessel itself your squadron will need a cool 25 billion credits. The carrier can be purchased from a new Squadron fleet carrier vendor that you'll find at any starport that has a regular fleet carrier vendor in it, and choosing an outfitting services is essentially exactly the same as a regular carrier once the ship has deployed to a nearby system. Interestingly, the carrier has no on-foot extended services currently, such as the BAR, Vista Genomics or Pioneer Supplies. The doors where you'd usually expect to find those services in the spacious and largely all new carrier interior, by the way, however, are closed, exactly the same as they would be in a fleet carrier that didn't have the services or had them but they were suspended. It's reasonable to ask then if those services, or something else perhaps, will be arriving in a future update. It would certainly be a crying shame if they weren't available for some use in the future, but so far we have no other information on this. The Squadron carrier itself has no access control settings that need to be configured because it's only accessible to members of the Squadron. By the same token, as a Squadron member, once you're on board you can go anywhere on the carrier that anyone else can, including the bridge, ready room and the new briefing room style area attached to the ready room. The carrier has a whopping 32 landing pads, 24 seats in the main jump lounge and command bridge, the same as a regular fleet carrier, and then a further 20 seats in a new room called the jump cabin. This can be accessed from the main elevators. The jump cabin is essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's a large square room with seats in that can be used solely for the purpose of giving commanders somewhere to sit when the carrier jumps. If the carrier has a full complement on board and all the landing pads are full, then, in principle at least, it gives everyone somewhere to sit during the jump. The cabin provides no view of the actual jump taking place, so is somewhat akin to sitting in your ship in a sealed hangar during the jump. A bit weird honestly, but I guess it works. Toward the aft of the primary carrier interior space there is a huge circular bank vault style door. It doesn't do anything, it's purely a cosmetic thing, but it's a nice reminder of one of the really big functional changes that Vanguards introduces, that of the Squadron bank system. The vault door itself is another of Frontier's pieces of implied functionality. It looks very impressive but it doesn't actually open or do anything as such. Functionally more helpfully however, the actual bank is opened via an interface that you can get from the Squadron system anywhere in the game. As we already knew, the bank is capable of storing and distributing in very controllable ways credits, commodities, unengineered ships and on-foot engineering materials, what the game calls personal assets. What we learnt from the Vanguards launch yesterday is that the bank system can also handle direct person-to-person transfer of those same ships, commodities, credits and assets, meaning that if you and another player are both in the same squadron, you can use the bank system to do a private transfer of those assets without going through the squadron's shared assets. Credits can be transferred entirely remotely. Anything physical requires the recipient to pick it up from the carrier in person or, as is the case of a ship, have it transferred the same as a regular ship transfer. This is, of course, just as true for an alt character as it is for another player, making it very useful for those commanders with multiple in-game personalities, assuming they're all in the same squadron of course. This is a hugely powerful and very attractive feature for Squadrons to wield, and I'm very pleased to see Frontier embracing the group playing and cooperation aspect of the game more. Communication wise, we weren't sure what Vanguards would bring to Squadrons. The primary change in that department is really the bulletin board system that can be accessed from anywhere. This can either be used as a more permanent notification system in the game for letting the squadron know where the focus of squadron ops is right now or other important information, or it can be opened up to all and literally serve as a wall of messages between everyone. That experience will almost certainly differ depending on the squadron you're in. Whilst evidently very functional for existing players in a squadron, the Vanguards squadron system makes onboarding new or less experienced players much easier without the requirement for exterior applications and services like Discord, but I definitely don't think for a moment it will replace them in any regard. Ironically, the in-game system only really complements the established infrastructure that players already use, and once someone is through the door in the squadron, then it will likely serve well as a gateway to those exterior services, which is absolutely fine. The end result is the same. To accompany the launch, Frontier produced not only their now customary launch trailer and website for a new feature, but also 4 videos that they're calling Commander Onboarding Modules. In essence, they are a maximum of 2 minutes long each and give a very top level overview of creating or joining a squadron, managing its members, the bank and acquiring a squadron carrier. If you want to see the onboarding modules trailer or Vanguard's website, then you'll find them linked in the description below. As well as being able to assign a motto and mission statement for a squadron, leaders can also create an in-game logo, which can then be worn as a decal by members of the squadron. The logo designer contains 3 layers, and on each layer you can add an icon or image from a number of supplied options and then change the colour of those images. There's no option to scale or move the icons, however, they are of a fixed size and position. Be careful if you are creating a logo, as the first layer doesn't have the option at the moment to be blank, so once you've set that layer you have to have something there if you change your mind later. It's worth noting as well that if you do change your mind, all corresponding versions of the logo on player ships etc will auto magically change, so you don't need to worry about anyone running around with an out of date logo. For active squadrons, I think Vanguards is a fantastic addition to their toolset, and overall they'll find it very useful and functional even without the carrier. With the carrier added as well, it gives everyone in the squadron a nice sense of belonging, ownership and focus. It also makes, in a practical sense, the sharing of most resources much easier and quicker, which is a huge bonus for everyone in the squad. As things stand, FDEV haven't taken the opportunity to increase the limit on the number of players that can join a single squadron. The current top end is 500 commanders, meaning larger squadrons like the Hutton Truckers or the Fatherhood, to name but 2, have had to create multiple additional squadrons to accommodate their memberships rather than turn folks away, and it's a shame that those folks can't still all play together as it stands. For anyone not in a squadron and who has no intention of ever joining a squadron, then obviously it will add nothing new to the game, but if you're perhaps squadron curious and have been waiting for the right moment, then now might be an excellent time to try. Most squadron players will tell you Elite Dangerous absolutely comes alive when you play in a team, and Vanguards absolutely leans into and enhances that philosophy. Did you join a squadron because of Vanguards? Has your squadron bought a carrier for itself, or are you perhaps looking to join a squadron now that you've seen more about Vanguards? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to the channel so that you see all our videos and community posts, and if you'd like to support our work here at the Burr Pit, you can also join us on Patreon. Links to that and everything else we've talked about in this video you'll find linked below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.